What is happening, ladies and gentlemen? My name is Ty behind the camera, and sitting in front of us is the 2024 Audi S3. This one just so happens to be in the Premium Plus trim with the glacier white exterior and a full Napa leather black interior with red stitching. So very nicely optioned out S3 for us to take a look at today. We also have the black optics package and the S Sport package on this one. So definitely some pretty nice options on this particular car. But throughout this video, we're going to take a look at the exterior, see what kind of features stand out. We'll then pop the hood, see what powers it, and also pop the trunk, see how much storage we have back there. Then we'll get into the interior, starting with the rear seats and making our way forward to the front seats. Kind of check out all the features in between. Then, at the end of the video, I'm going to strap this GoPro to my head, and we're going to take a look at how this S3 drives and kind of put it through its paces. But first things first, our headlights are full LED units for both your high and low beams. We also have your LED daytime running lights and even LED turn signals up here. Looks very good, all illuminated. And then we also have our headlamp washers right below. We have parking sensors that span the front bumper and a nice black optic package with this kind of gloss black on the sides and a full glossy black grille. Even the Audi rings are finished in gloss black, and the S3 badging too. We have a pretty short hood with some pretty nice creases going on, and very attractive 19-inch wheels, kind of with a machine face to them, and then a kind of black pockets in there. And the tires measure 235/35 up front, and some pretty meaty looking brake rotors, and the calipers are pretty big too. Taking a look down the side, we have more blacked out elements with the kind of side sills, the mirror caps, and the surrounds for the windows. As you can also see, we have a nice oversized sunroof on this car. And if we flip around, you can see we have the integrated turn signals in the mirror, and your blind spot warning is on the inside. And we also have smart key entry for all 4 door handles. As you can see, this little button right here, you just tap that to lock and put your hand behind the handle to unlock. And again, that goes for all 4 doors. Quick look at the window sticker reveals a couple of different packages and kind of some standalone options. This does have the sport exhaust resonator, so we'll get an exhaust clip right after we take a look at the engine. So we'll see what it sounds like. We have a total sticker price of $56,625. Taking a look back here, we have full LED tail lamps to match the LEDs up front. Interestingly enough, we have some yellow turn signals, but they don't really appear yellow until they're on, so that's pretty neat. But yeah, everything's LED back here, the turn signals, brake lights, and tail lights. All the badging back here is blacked out. We also have parking sensors, quad exhaust tips, which are surrounded in black, of course. And just below our Audi rings, we have a trunk release and the reversing camera. So, what do we think of the design of the 2024 S3? I personally think this is a great looking little car, and it's got quite a bit of flair to it. Let me know in the comments. Under the hood, we have a 2-liter turbocharged 4-cylinder producing 306 horsepower, 295 pound-feet of torque, so pretty good amount of power coming from this 2-liter. It's all hooked up to a 7-speed dual-clutch transmission and, of course, quattro all-wheel drive. Now, the A3 will have a different version of the 2-liter turbocharged 4-cylinder with a little bit less horsepower. And the big brother to this car, the RS3, will, of course, have that turbocharged 5-cylinder. But we'll save those 2 cars for different videos. Under the hood, we have a pretty small engine cover with your oil filter and engine oil dipstick right here. So that's pretty rare to see an Audi or Volkswagen with a dipstick, so that's pretty nice to see. And it all looks pretty tidy under here. Let's take a listen to how the exhaust sounds. popping the trunk with the button on the key fob will actually raise up the trunk for you with some springs built into the hinges. And if we take a look, actually not too bad under the trunk, despite this being a smaller sedan. So we actually have a pretty good amount of space back here. If you lift up the rear, you can see the battery is back here, but you do have some storage around that kind of U-shaped in there. So we do have some hidden storage. Also a little cubby over here with a 12-volt power outlet and some tie downs in each corner. So right here against the lip and towards the rear seats, which by the way do fold down in a 40-20-40 fashion, which is pretty neat. So you can see you have that little pass-through there. And one more cool thing, you have grocery bag hangers. So that is pretty neat. So overall, not too bad of a storage area back here in the S3. Just close it down with this little handle. It is a pretty small trunk lid, so it's nice and light. Okay, so now that we're out back at the S3, we could check out kind of what it looks like back here and also how much room we have. One thing that really strikes me when you open the doors, take a look at this stitching. It's kind of like this cross thread, but it's also two different colors. I've never seen that before in any other car, so that's pretty neat. Back here we have this kind of metal strip with some ambient lighting and the pretty neatly shaped door opener. You also have the little pocket there for some storage and a couple of speakers on the rear door. We of course have the optional fine Napa leather seating in this car. Of course, black leather with red stitching. Very beautiful attention to detail on the seats. Seriously, some of the softest leather that I have ever seen. We of course have the ISOFIX for your child's seats, and pretty good amount of room back here, honestly, for a smaller vehicle. Now we could fold down the rear seats with this little lever right here, and of course if the front seat was a little bit more farther forward, it will fold flat. We also have one more thing that we could fold down, and that is the armrest with a couple of cup holders. You can also see that the sunroof continues pretty nicely back here, as it is a little bit oversized. And once you're in the back, it's really not too bad considering this is a pretty small sedan. So thanks to these little cutouts in the back, I do have some legroom, and headroom isn't too bad either for a guy of my size. I'm about 5'10". And of course I adjusted this seat to a driving position that would be comfortable for me. Now back here you do have a couple of air vents, as well as a little knob here to adjust your temperature, and a couple of USB-C connections. Now due to the smaller nature of this car, there's a little bit of a bigger drivetrain hump, so you can fit a third person back here, although I don't think they would be very comfortable. We have a full black headliner with the grab handles back here and some LED lights. And a pretty good look at the dashboard. All right, here we are, the main event where the driver sits, of course. Nice materials on the door. It is nice soft to the touch up here. You have some more metal trim, more ambient lighting. We also have our lock unlock up there next to our door handle, and two-person memory for the driver's seat. We have all of our window adjustments, and we also have power child locks, which is pretty nice. As you can see, our mirror adjustment also has power folding and heated functions. We have some more of that pretty neat gray and red stitching. The trunk release, and another couple of speakers on this car. By the way, this has the standard Audi branded speaker setup with 10 speakers coming standard, but you can also opt for a little bit better of a speaker system as well. But yeah, we have the door pocket, and then over here on the left of the dash we have our headlight controls, as well as our rear and front fog lights. Right down here we have a pretty large storage cubby, actually. You can put some larger things in here. We also have the tilt and telescoping steering wheel release right there. Hood release off to the left, and our nice bright pedals with the metal accents. We also have the S branded side sills and beautiful driver's seat. take a look at that. We have fixed headrests up front with the S badging kind of embossed in the leather. And again, this gorgeous stitching design, and you can also extend the thigh extensions. And we have full power functions with our 4-way lumbar. Okay, so now that we are seated within the S3, you can see a beautiful layout of the dashboard. Really nice looking design in here. And we also have the key with us. So we have this nice kind of skinny style key the Audi has been starting to use in their newer products. And it's pretty good looking, easy to slip in and out of your pocket. We have the lock, unlock, trunk release, and on the back we have the panic alarm. Also, this silver button is to release a physical key in case you need it. But of course, we have push button start in this car, which is located right down here. And we do definitely get a little bit of a roar to that turbocharged 4-cylinder when you start it up, thanks to that sport resonator in the exhaust that this particular car has. As far as the steering wheel goes, very, very attractive looking steering wheel. More of that Napa leather that wraps it. We have red stitching, kind of smooth leather on the top and the bottom, but then we also have some dimple leather where your hands are going to be gripping it to get that little extra grip while you're going around the racetrack. On the back of the steering wheel mounted to it are some paddle shifters. We also have buttons over here for your virtual cockpit, and also some buttons over here for your Bluetooth phone, voice commands, skipping back and forth between different radio stations or presets, and then an up and down on that scroll knob for your audio volume. Now this little star button here is actually a programmable button, so you kind of program it to do whatever you like. Right over here we have the little S badge, and behind the steering wheel we have a couple of stalks, one for the turn signals, your automatic high beams, and you can also shut off your lane keeping assist with that N button. And down here we have our adaptive cruise control. And of course the other side we have our wipers. Now we do have a pretty nice setup for the virtual gauges. Now this is kind of the smaller set of virtual gauges that you can get. You can also get obviously a larger one with a full map view with a navigation package. So we're going to be using these buttons here to slightly configure the screen. Now if we go like this, we can kind of get a reduced display or display your trip computers and various other information by scrolling down. So we have a driver's assistance screen, all kinds of economy screens, and if we scroll over, we have our what's going on with the music, and then also your phone. But if you click view, that will kind of minimize your display. But that is kind of the extent to adjustments here on this particular screen. Again, if you get the navigation package, you'll get a bigger screen, much more configurable. But pretty attractive setup though to the screen. You have a large tachometer with the gear in the center, and then your speedometer, and then a digital one, and then kind of your coolant temperature over here and gas gauge right there. Pretty neatly styled air vents in this car too. I kind of like that. There's one sticking on the other side of the display, and one on the other side of each other. It kind of looks like there's wings coming off from an airplane. Nice upper dash, soft to the touch with some more of that pretty neat stitching. And that takes me down to our touch screen where we can kind of display a couple of different settings. Right over here is kind of your home screen, so it'll display the radio, phone, and navigation if you had purchased it. We have shortcuts over here, and you can also swipe from the top to get different menus. Turn the screen off over here. You can get your tone settings right here. And you can also access different profiles and Wi-Fi settings from the swiping from the top there. Scrolling over, we have our radio screen, which obviously we have the Sirius XM active. We have what's playing in the center, kind of skipping between different tracks, and you can also rewind too on Sirius XM, which is pretty cool. And then you have all of your different sources. You have a media, phone, and navigation screen. Again, if navigation was purchased, that would be there. And then this icon here has to do with your Apple CarPlay, Android Auto. So as soon as you have a phone connected to that, that will display the corresponding icon. Going into the vehicle screen, we have our Audi Drive mode select, which there's a couple. We have comfort, automatic, dynamic, and individual. And in individual, you can customize a few different things. How the drive feels, the suspension is customizable, steering feel, and the engine sound. So that's pretty neat. Going back to the vehicle settings screen, we have a efficiency assistance where you could turn on and off economy tips, which is pretty neat. We have our air conditioning settings, our lighting and visibility, and this is where you can customize your interior ambient lighting, which looks pretty neat at night. A bunch of different color themes, and then you can kind of customize what color you would like. Lots and lots of different colors, and you could choose 2 different colors at one time. That is pretty cool. A couple other things, we have the driver's assistance screen as well, which will kind of display all of your driver's assistance functions, and you can turn on and off whichever one you like individually. And then we also just have some smaller things such as settings and service and things like that. We have our regular system settings right here. And then swiping over, we could set up different users, get messages, calendars, things like that. So pretty nice screen in this car. Shortcuts, very easy to get used to. And another thing that's pretty easy is the climate control. Very nice and simple. Climate control in this car, we just have a couple of buttons and switches. Everything does the functions that you would imagine they do. So we have a dual zone automatic climate control in this car. As you can see, automatic button right here. You can also sync the temperatures, and our temperatures are displayed right here. Fan speed kind of in the center. The AC settings right over here, where you want the air to blow right there, and your passenger temperature. We of course have heated seats up front in this car, and those are the buttons right to either end. And then we can also recirculate or get fresh air with this button here, and we of course have our defrosters. Just below, we have another array of buttons here with our quick drive mode select, which will pop up on our screen, and so you can see which ones you are picking. We also have our traction control and auto start stop, which you can turn on and off. We have our hazards right in the center. We can also pull up our parking camera and our parking sensors at any time if you're kind of in the middle of parking. We have the rear view here with guidance lines, and also our parking sensors visual. And this also has automatic parking, which is awesome. So you just press that button here and that will activate it, and it'll kind of give you steps from there. So that is a very neat and nice feature to see at this price point. Down here we have a couple of more USB-Cs like the ones we saw out back, and a wireless charging pad, which is nice. Down here in this glossy black section, which looks very nice when it's new, although you might want to keep it clean so it doesn't scratch, because it's kind of a high traffic area. That's the only complaint I really have on the inside of this car, other than it's just a kind of a glossy black, not the best area for a glossy black color. But we do have the engine stop start button over here, and a pretty neat solution to the volume knob. Now, usually I complain about something like this, but this actually works pretty good. So you just go like this to move the volume up and down, but it also doubles as to turn off the screen, mute it, and then change different tracks. So that is a pretty neat solution to the volume knob if you had to replace it. Right down here is our shifter assortment. So we have this little toggle right here where we could put down into drive and then bump it one more time into a sport mode, and that'll kind of get the transmission into that sport mode so it holds your gears and everything like that. We can go up one into neutral and up another into reverse. Again, our backup camera will pull up, as well as the parking sensors. And then you have the little P button right here for park, of course. Now down here we have some storage in form of your cup holders, and then we also have a little tray right here which is removable, where you can put little change and things like that. You do have a 12-volt power outlet, as well as your electronic parking brake. And a nice little center console, which is nice and soft. You can lift that up and see there isn't a whole lot of storage, but you can definitely put some stuff in there. The passenger area is almost the most attractive place in this car, because we have this very neat kind of open pore, if you will, carbon fiber trim, which is really, really neat. You have the Quattro logo, some pretty cool looking air vents. And our glove box down below is pretty large. It's lockable, lighted, and or lit up, I should say, and felt lined. Taking a look up top, we have our visors with mirrors and lights. We also have a pretty nice oversized sunroof, which you saw earlier, with the sunshade, which you can put back. And again, it is a pretty large sunroof. I wouldn't go panoramic, but I would say oversized. Up here at our center console, we have all of our lighting controls, where you can turn them all on over there, or just tap on like so. We have our sunroof controls, where we could tilt and slide it, and then we also have our SOS emergency buttons up there. Nice big mirror for this car too. You can almost see all the way across the rear of the vehicle. That has your garage door openers and a built-in compass, and is also auto dimming. Lots of features in this car, but that is pretty much it. We have wrapped up the features review on this vehicle. Let's take it out on the road and see how it drives. All right, starting off our drive in the 2024 S3. Lots of turbo noises coming from this car, and I like it. Just our initial acceleration there in comfort mode. I've always loved the way that the A3s and S3s drive, because the transmission tuning is so great. The 7-speed dual clutch has to be my favorite transmission out there. The way that it drives, it keeps the RPMs nice and low, the engine speed nice and low, but it spools up the turbo. So you always have that power, and it's always there, but at low RPMs, which in turn gets you better fuel economy. And if you ever do need that extra power, you just lay into the throttle a little bit more and you've got it. But a little overview of our test drive. We're first going to start off obviously on this kind of 2-lane highway up at 45 miles an hour. Not too bad. The road noise is definitely pretty good. You get a little bit of more turbo noise than anything in comfort mode coming from the engine. But there is a bit of tire noise. That's my only complaint. A little bit louder than I was expecting. So that's the only complaint I have up at the kind of higher speeds, 45, 50 miles an hour. But at this point, we're going to put it into dynamic mode. We'll even put it into manual, and we'll do our acceleration test. I like to do it from 25 miles an hour up to 60. So let's put it in a second. Get her up to 25. And let's see. That's what I'm talking about. This is a fun little car. That was a pretty quick sprint to 60. What great power this car has, seriously. And this is actually a pretty good sounding 4-cylinder, I'll tell you that. Especially with that sport resonator. Now, if you're asking, what is that sport resonator on the window sticker? I can't find it on the Audi configurator. It's kind of one of those options that you have to, if you know, you know. Audi doesn't put it out there that they offer such a thing. So it's kind of one of those things. But, so pretty impressive acceleration. Obviously, you guys know my thoughts of this transmission. Absolutely fantastic transmission. It shifts lightning fast when it needs to, and it's very, very smooth, except for sometimes at lower speeds when shifting. Putting it into dynamic mode actually does change up the stiffness of the dampers, and you could definitely tell a difference. It is pretty stiff, actually, this kind of dynamic mode. The steering also weightens up quite a bit, very noticeably so. It's actually got a pretty good weight to it. And just following this mail truck around, I don't want to get too close to him, but this is a pretty impressive change from comfort to dynamic mode, so that's something good to report on. Lots and lots of turbo noises from this car, especially at the lower RPMs. actually feels pretty planted around the corner. You know, sometimes S3s or A3s feel like they dive a little bit. It looks like, I guess you never know what we're going to expect on these test drives we take, as there's a family of turkeys crossing the road right before Thanksgiving season, I suppose. Anyways, as I was saying, the S3 A3 has a engine that's mounted this way, so it's it hasn't been the best handler. It kind of like dives into corners, but it actually feels pretty good, honestly. So pretty dynamic feeling car, especially with that weight and up steering. The brakes feel good too. Pretty decent setup in the front with the brakes at least. And it looks like they have paved our bumpy road, so no more extreme suspension tests here. But that's a good thing. It definitely needed to be paved, this road. But suspension, pretty comfy in comfort. Dynamic, pretty dynamic in dynamic. That's the best way to sum it up. It does get pretty bumpy in dynamic mode. I'm shocked at the difference between comfort and dynamic, so that's pretty good. And just cruising around on these back roads, take a look at that. I'm getting 40 miles to the gallon right now, so that's pretty good. Just looking at your real-time miles per gallon, it's kind of a game you could play with getting the best fuel economy with that little bar that slides back and forth. Oh, one more thing I wanted to talk about is the seat comfort. Very, very comfortable seats. You can kind of get the positioning exactly comfortable for you. And with the leg extensions and the lumbar support, it definitely gets pretty comfortable. Definitely does give off a pretty cool sound. Whether it's noise that's piped in or actually noise, I'm not 100% sure. But the exhaust resonators definitely help out that sound, probably towards the back of the vehicle. It does feel pretty good around the corners, I will say that. Let's put it back into comfort mode, and immediately it just feels so much more relaxed and more like a daily driver than a track toy. But that pretty much does it for this video on the 2024 S3. I thank each and every one of you for watching this video. And I hope you stick with us next time here at Ty Drives for the next videos.